So starting the test drive out in the F-250, I forgot to mention the tow figure, so I'll leave that in the description below. And I also forgot to look underneath the seat, so there's plenty of storage underneath the back seat there, and it's very easy to fold up. And there's not like a storage compartment or something in the way there, so tons of space in this XL. But I drove the new 24 Sierra and Silverado 2500s. This just rides a bit more rugged to me, just with empty weight. So just keep that in mind. But just as easy to drive as those, I think. This one might be a bit easier, actually. The steering feels good. Brake pedal feels good. It feels more traditional, I think, than the AT4 and Denali Sierra that I drove recently. Now for me, one of the things that stuck out, I haven't driven a new base model. I've driven a Silverado 2500. It was an LT though, but for this one to be the XL, which is about as low as you can go, it doesn't feel like that. The vinyl seats are actually pretty comfortable. I love having the vinyl floors in here. The only thing that's missing for me would probably be a bed liner, but other than that, this is ready to work, and it still feels like a new truck. It doesn't feel like it's dated or needs a refresh or anything like that. So the only thing I would do is swap out the halogens for LEDs, but of course Ford wants you to upgrade to the Lariat and so on so that you can get those LEDs, but you're having to pay another 15-20 grand in price. So I think this is a great deal, being it right at 65-66 grand. You get the turbo diesel with that 10-speed, and you really don't have anything that you don't need. You still get your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, your FM, your Bluetooth. I'd like to have adaptive cruise control, but I'm sure you can add that on. Maybe not to the XL, but you can certainly add it as an option, I would think. Some driver assistance package or something. So like I said earlier, in terms of drivability, this one just feels a little more traditional in terms of ride quality. I will have to double check the difference in the suspension. I think, like I said, I drove an AT4 and a Denali, and with this one being a bare bones XL, there might be difference in suspension parts or maybe adjustable whatever, I don't know. But this one, like I said, just rides rougher, but it could have to do with the road as well, because I'm in Franklin driving this, and I was in Murfreesboro, Tennessee driving all of the other ones, and those roads are just a tad bit smoother. Let's see if we can give it a little pull here. Yeah, the power is definitely there. Very strong. And I will say, when you're not on the engine, it's not that loud, but as soon as you give it a bit of throttle, you can just hear it. And I think a lot of diesel owners appreciate that. But if you're looking for a more quiet truck, I feel like the Sierras are not as loud. And I will have to drive a 2500 to see. But again, with this one being the XL, hopefully I'll get to drive a Lariat here soon, and maybe I can compare or see a difference with a turbo diesel in that as opposed to this XL here. But the F-250s and F-350s, they have a history of being pretty capable when it comes to towing, being as good, if not better, than its counterparts. Now sometimes Ram beats everybody out because they just have crazy towing capabilities, but I feel like this F-250 is, if all other things were equal, I would go with the F-250, just based on what I know, even if the Ram can tow a bit more. Specifically for the driver assistance that can come on an XLT or a Lariat, as opposed to Ram's Bighorn or whatever in that mid-range trim level. But as I'm driving it and getting used to it, it's pretty agile for a heavy duty truck. It might not feel it, but it handled that curve very well. Now these of course going to be a little top heavy with them being heavy duties, but still I don't feel like it's very hard to maneuver or that I have to be extra careful with it. Just drive it normally like you would a 1500 and you should be good. But you can definitely feel the weight of this truck as you're driving it. But for the price point right at $65,000, if you're looking for a good work truck and you want all the technology features that you haven't had in terms of just your infotainment system and having a digital middle cluster here and having a 3-prong plug in the truck, definitely a great option, specifically if you're needing to have that diesel engine. And the brakes feel great too. But this will bring me to the end of my review of the 2023 Ford F-250 in the XL trim level.